Someone is pregnant and hiding it from you. The reason will shake your soul. They say the truth has a strange way of reaching you. Sometimes it comes loud, crashing through your world like thunder that refuses to be ignored. Other times, it slips quietly between cracks, revealing itself in fragments, in whispers, in the flicker of someone's eyes that can't hold yours for too long. And sometimes, the truth hides itself so deeply, so painfully, that the person keeping it buried does so not out of malice, not out of cruelty, but because they believe it's the only way to protect you, even if that protection comes at the cost of tearing themselves apart inside. Someone is pregnant, and they're hiding it from you. The weight of those words would shake anyone, but the real shock isn't in the fact itself, it's in the reason why. Because the reason will tear through everything you thought you knew, everything you believed, everything you trusted. It will make you question not just the person, not just their choices, but yourself. And once you learn it, you will never see the world the same way again. But the story doesn't begin with the revelation. It begins long before, in the quiet moments you overlooked, the silences that lingered too long, the sudden excuses, the half-hearted smiles, the way their laughter seemed forced, like a shield protecting them from the questions they prayed you wouldn't ask. It begins in the nights when they disappeared into themselves, lost in thoughts they couldn't share, and you convinced yourself it was stress, exhaustion, just the weight of life pressing down. You never imagined it was this. And yet, the signs were there. The careful way they moved, as if guarding something fragile. The faint hesitation before answering your simplest questions. The sudden shift in appetite, the restless nights, the tears they brushed away when they thought no one was watching. You saw it all, but your mind never put the pieces together, because why would it? Why would someone you trusted so deeply, someone you loved, choose to carry a secret of this magnitude, alone, in silence, in fear? The truth, when it finally comes, will not only shock you, it will break something inside you, something you may never fully mend. Because the reason they hid it isn't simple. It isn't what you think. It isn't about shame or carelessness or irresponsibility. No, it's about sacrifice. It's about protection. It's about love twisted into a shape so unrecognizable that it feels almost like betrayal. And yet, in its own way, it was the purest act of care they could manage. And that's where the pain lies. Because when you finally look into their eyes and hear the trembling words that reveal why they've kept this secret, you'll feel your soul tremble too. Not because you can't forgive them, not because you can't understand, but because you'll realize they carried this burden not to hurt you, but to shield you. And in shielding you, they hurt themselves more than you could ever imagine. This isn't just a secret. This is a storm waiting to break. This is the kind of truth that rearranges lives, that demands choices no one should ever have to make. And whether you are ready or not, the storm is already here. They are pregnant. They are hiding it from you. And the reason, the real reason, will shake your soul in ways you will never forget. Secrets do not stay hidden forever. They live in silence, in the shadows of unspoken words. But silence has a way of screaming louder than any confession. You began to notice it. The distance, the way their smile didn't quite reach their eyes, the way their hands often drifted toward their stomach as if protecting something precious they could not name. At first, you told yourself it was nothing, just stress, just exhaustion, just life being too heavy. But in the deepest part of your soul, something whispered, "There is more here than you know." You remember the exact night the suspicion first took hold. The two of you sat together, and though the world outside carried on with its noise, inside the room it was unusually quiet. They seemed restless, their hands fidgeting with the edge of a sleeve, their breathing uneven, their gaze fixed somewhere far away. You asked them if something was wrong, and for a brief moment, you thought you saw it, a flicker of truth in their eyes, a desperate need to tell you. But then it was gone, buried beneath a practiced smile and words that sounded too neat, too polished. "I'm fine, just tired." But you knew, somewhere deep down, you knew. The days that followed only deepened the ache of unknowing. They grew quieter, softer, almost as if they were shrinking into themselves. There were moments when they looked at you with a tenderness so raw it almost broke you, and you wanted to reach out, to demand the truth, to shake the silence out of them. Yet something held you back, a fear that if you pushed too hard, if you dug too deeply, you would shatter whatever fragile balance was keeping them from falling apart completely. And so you watched. You waited. You pretended not to notice the way their body was changing, subtle at first, but undeniable if you looked closely enough. You pretended not to notice the way they avoided certain foods, the way they rested their hand protectively against their belly when they thought you weren't watching. You pretended not to notice the tears that stained their pillow at night when they thought you were asleep. But pretending does not erase reality. Pretending does not erase the growing truth. They were carrying life inside them. They were carrying a secret too heavy for one person to bear. And they were carrying the burden of believing that you of all people, could not be allowed to know. And that thought, that cruel realization, burned through you like fire. Why? Why would they hide this? Why would they lock you out of something so sacred, so monumental, so life-altering? Was it fear of judgment? Fear of rejection? Or was the truth far darker, far more devastating than anything you dared imagine? Because deep down, you sensed it. The reason wasn't simple. It wasn't ordinary. It wasn't something that could be explained away in a sentence or forgiven with an apology. No, the reason was a storm that would tear through everything you believed about them, about yourself, about the life you thought you were building together. And as much as you longed for the truth, a part of you was terrified of it too. Because what if the reason wasn't just about them? What if the reason cut into the very heart of who you were? What if the reason wasn't meant to protect you, but to protect someone else from you? That thought kept you awake at night, staring at the ceiling, your mind looping in endless circles. Every look, every silence, every whispered word replayed itself, begging for meaning. And with every replay, the knot in your chest grew tighter. Someone you trusted was hiding something that would change everything. And the longer they hid it, the louder the silence became. The storm was coming. You could feel it in your bones. And when it broke, nothing would ever be the same again. Confrontation is never easy, especially when it involves someone you love, someone you've trusted, someone whose silence has already built a wall between you. For days, you wrestled with yourself, whether to keep waiting, hoping they would open up on their own, or whether to finally demand the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. But silence had stretched too far. The weight of unspoken words had grown unbearable. And so, one night, when the distance between you was thick enough to feel in the air, you broke it. Your voice was quiet at first, almost trembling, but steady enough to cut through the room like a blade. I know something is wrong. I can see it. I can feel it. Please, don't hide from me anymore. The words hung there, heavy, irreversible. For a moment, they froze. Their eyes widened, their breath caught, and in that instant you saw it, the truth flickering just beneath the surface, desperate to escape, yet terrified of what would happen if it did. They tried to answer, tried to summon another practiced smile, another excuse, but this time the mask cracked. Their lips parted, then closed. Their eyes filled, shimmering with tears they could no longer hold back. The silence that followed wasn't the same as before. This wasn't avoidance, it was collapse. Their shoulders trembled, their chest heaved, and then the dam broke. They buried their face in their hands, sobs shaking through their body, raw and unrestrained. You rushed to them, instinctively reaching out, but they flinched, as if your touch might shatter them even more. That recoil cut deeper than any words could. You felt helpless, torn between anger at the secrecy and heartbreak at their pain. Finally, between gasps and sobs, their voice broke through. I didn't want you to know. Not like this. Not yet. I'm sorry. The words crushed you. They confirmed everything you feared, yet offered no clarity. You swallowed hard, your voice cracking as you asked the question you already knew the answer to. Are you pregnant? The silence that followed was deafening. No denial, no excuses, just the slow, trembling nod of someone too broken to keep pretending. And there it was, the truth. But instead of relief, instead of the clarity you thought you wanted, a deeper fear began to take root. Because if the pregnancy was the secret, then why the tears? Why the shame? Why the desperate need to keep it from you? You looked into their eyes, red and swollen from crying, and for the first time, you realized the pregnancy itself wasn't the whole secret. It was only the beginning. The real secret was the reason, and that reason was still locked away, buried so deeply that even in their confession, they couldn't bring themselves to speak it. Your heart pounded, your throat tightened, and in that moment, you understood the terrifying truth. The storm hadn't broken yet. You were only standing at the edge of it. The real reason, the one that would shake your soul, was still waiting in the shadows. The night felt heavier than any you had lived through before. The air was thick, pressing down, as if the universe itself understood that something irreversible was about to unfold. You sat across from them, your chest tight, your breath shallow, the question burning in you louder than your own heartbeat. Why? Just one word, trembling and raw. but it carried the weight of everything you needed to know. Why the silence? Why the secrecy? Why the tears that refused to stop? They didn't answer at first. Their eyes darted away from yours, searching the corners of the room as if the walls might give them courage. Their hands trembled in their lap, fingers twisting together, betraying the storm that raged inside. You could see it, the war between their need to protect you and their inability to carry this burden any longer. When they finally spoke, their voice was so faint you almost didn't hear it. Because I didn't want to destroy you. The words hit like a blade. Destroy you? What could be so devastating, so soul-crushing, that they believed your entire being might collapse under the weight of it? You leaned forward, your voice urgent, breaking. Destroy me? You think keeping this secret is better than telling me? You think watching you suffer in silence is protecting me? Please, don't do this. Don't keep me in the dark. If you love me at all, tell me the truth. Tears spilled down their cheeks, fast and uncontrollable. Their bodies shook with the effort of holding back words that wanted to escape. And then, finally, they looked at you, really looked at you, with eyes full of both love and unbearable pain. It's not that I don't trust you. It's not that I don't need you. It's because the truth will change everything. And once it's out, we can't go back. You won't look at me the same. You won't look at yourself the same. Your heart pounded harder. Fear clawed at your chest. What truth? What could be so terrible that you'd rather face this alone than tell me? Their lips quivered. For a moment, no sound came out, just breath, shaky and broken. And then, finally, they whispered the words that cracked the air open. This child, it may not be yours. The world seemed to stop. The walls, the furniture, the air itself, all of it blurred, as if reality had slipped from beneath your feet. Your ears rang with the echo of those words. Your chest burned, your stomach twisted, your vision swam. You wanted to scream. You wanted to demand answers. You wanted to deny it, to call it a lie, to convince yourself you hadn't heard it. But the look in their eyes, the raw, tortured honesty, told you this wasn't a lie. This was the beginning of a truth so brutal it threatened to rip your soul apart. And as you sat there, frozen, shattered, the storm finally broke. The reason you had been searching for was no longer in the shadows. It was here, staring you in the face, daring you to survive it. Silence fell after those words, but it wasn't the kind of silence you'd known before. This silence was violent. It screamed louder than thunder. It pressed against your ears until they rang. It suffocated the air in your lungs. The room didn't feel like the same room. The ground beneath you didn't feel steady. Nothing felt real anymore. You wanted to speak, but your mouth was dry, your throat locked. All you could manage was a broken whisper. What did you just say? They winced, as though repeating it might kill them. Their eyes darted downward, unable to meet yours, their entire body trembling. I said, the child may not be yours. Every word was a dagger. 1,000 thoughts collided in your head, none of them making sense. You wanted to shout, to demand clarity, to accuse, but another part of you, the part still aching with love, needed to understand before you let anger take hold. You steadied yourself, though your heart was shattering with every beat. Tell me everything. Don't hold anything back. I deserve the truth. Their chest rose and fell, heavy, uneven. And then the flood began. It wasn't supposed to happen. I never wanted this. I never meant to hurt you. I've been carrying this secret because every day I looked at you and thought, if you knew, it would destroy you. And I couldn't do that to you. I couldn't take away the way you look at me, the way you trust me, the way you love me. So I buried it. I buried it as deep as I could, hoping somehow I could protect you from it, even if it meant drowning in it myself. Tears streamed down their face, each word heavier than the last. You sat frozen, torn between rage and sorrow, your fists clenched, your body rigid. Who? You finally forced out, your voice shaking. Who was the father? The question shattered them. They covered their face with their hands, sobs ripping through them. I don't know how to say it. I don't even know if I can. But you need to understand, it wasn't love. It wasn't me choosing someone else over you. It was pain. It was weakness. It was a moment that never should have happened. You leaned closer, your voice sharp, desperate. What do you mean? Stop speaking in riddles. Tell me what happened. Their hands dropped, revealing eyes swollen with tears. And then, finally, the truth began to bleed out. It happened on a night when everything between us was falling apart. You were so far away, chasing goals, drowning in your own battles. I felt invisible. I felt like I didn't matter to you anymore. And then someone else was there. Someone who saw the cracks. Someone who took advantage of them. I was vulnerable. I was broken. And I made the worst mistake of my life. It wasn't love. It wasn't even real. It was a moment of weakness. And now that moment is living inside me. The words hit you like knives, one after another, each sharper than the last. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was emotional. It was the knowledge that while you had been fighting for a future, they had been slipping into someone else's arms, even if only for a moment. But the pain didn't stop there. Their voice cracked as they added, I thought about telling you every day. But then I saw how much you were carrying already, how much pressure was on your shoulders, and I told myself I couldn't add this weight to your world. I told myself I was protecting you. But every day, the secret grew heavier, until it almost crushed me. They broke down completely, collapsing into sobs, whispering again and again, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And you sat there, your soul torn open. Part of you wanted to walk away and never look back. Part of you wanted to hold them, to tell them you could somehow survive this together. And another part of you, the deepest part, felt numb, like your heart had stopped beating altogether. The truth had been spoken, the reason had been revealed, and your soul was shaken to its core. The words still lingered in the air like poison. The child may not be yours. No matter how many times you replayed them in your head, they cut deeper, twisting into your chest like a blade that refused to be pulled out. You sat frozen, but inside you wasn't silence. It was war. Anger screamed at you to rise, to shout, to demand names, dates, details. Love whispered, fragile and trembling, telling you that this person before you, shaking, broken, begging, was still the one you once held with your whole heart. And then there was numbness, the cruelest of all, spreading like ice through your veins, telling you that maybe nothing mattered anymore. Your jaw clenched, your fists trembled, and finally, you spoke, your voice low, dangerous. Do you realize what you've done to me? To us? Do you understand that you didn't just betray me? You've taken every dream we built and shattered it with a single choice. Their tears fell faster, their lips quivering. I know, I know what I've done. I replay it every day, wishing I could undo it, wishing I could turn back time and erase it. But I can't, and I hate myself for it. Your voice broke, raw with pain. You should have told me the moment it happened. Not now, not like this. I deserve the truth. Instead, you let me live in a lie, building hope around something that may never even be mine. They reached for you, but you pulled back, your entire body recoiling as though their touch burned. The distance between you wasn't just physical anymore. It was a canyon, deep and impossible to cross. You stood up, pacing, your hands running through your hair, your chest heaving. The room felt too small to hold the storm inside you. So what now? Do I wait months wondering if this child is mine? Do I raise someone else's baby while my soul is ripped apart every time I look into their eyes? Do you expect me to just forget? They shook their head violently, sobbing harder. No, I don't expect you to forget. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight. I just, I couldn't hide it anymore. I couldn't keep carrying this alone. You deserve to know. Even if it destroys everything, you deserve the truth. Your voice cracked, your throat tight, every word heavy. The truth? The truth came too late. The truth should have been the first thing, not the last. Now, it's not just the betrayal I feel. It's the lies, the silence, the way you let me love you while you were hiding this. That's what hurts the most. The air grew colder, heavy with everything left unsaid. You looked at them, broken and sobbing before you. And for the first time, you realized you didn't know if love was enough anymore. Part of you wanted to run, to escape, to never look back. Another part wanted to fight, to cling to what was left, to believe that even in ruins, something could survive. But as the night stretched on, one truth settled deep inside you. Nothing would ever be the same again. This wasn't just about a secret. This was about a soul ripped open, forced to choose between forgiveness and freedom, between the past you thought you had and the uncertain future that now loomed like a storm. And the hardest part was knowing you had to decide soon. The night stretched endlessly, and yet the weight of choice pressed on you like the seconds were slipping too fast. Their confession echoed in your mind, haunting, circling like a shadow you couldn't escape. The child may not be yours. You looked at them again, eyes swollen, face wet with tears, hands clasped as if in prayer. Broken, desperate, afraid. And yet, they still held on to a flicker of hope, the fragile belief that maybe, just maybe, you could still find a way through this wreckage together. Your heart ached with contradictions. You wanted to scream, to curse them, to release all the fury boiling in your veins. But you also wanted to collapse into their arms and cry until the world made sense again. Rage and love were tearing you apart, fighting for dominance. And the truth was, you no longer recognized yourself in the mirror of this moment. Finally, you spoke, your voice steady but trembling beneath the surface. This changes everything. No matter how much you beg, no matter how much you cry, you can't erase what's been said. You can't erase what you did. This wound doesn't close in a night. It may never close. Their breath hitched, their shoulders shaking. I know, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it right, if you let me. I'll prove my love to you every single day. I don't want anyone else. I only want you. The words should have soothed you, but instead they cut deeper because you remembered all the nights you believed those same words before, when the secret still lived in silence between you. You stepped back, your chest tight. You don't understand. It's not just about love anymore. It's about trust. And once trust is broken, love alone isn't enough to save it. The truth of your own words weighed heavier than you expected. You loved them, yes, but could you ever look at them again without remembering this moment? Could you ever hold that child, no matter the DNA, without wondering whose eyes stared back at you? Tears welled in your eyes, and for the first time, you didn't fight them. You let them fall, hot, relentless, cleansing. You whispered, broken but certain, I can't stay. Not like this. Maybe one day I'll find forgiveness. Maybe one day I'll look back and understand. But right now, my soul can't breathe here. I need to walk away. The words shattered them. They collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably, reaching for you. But you stepped back again, because staying would only chain you to the pain. You turned, your steps heavy, your heart bleeding with every movement. The door felt like both an ending and a beginning. Before you left, you spoke once more, voice shaking but final. I loved you more than anything. And maybe that's why this hurts more than anything. But love without truth dies, and I won't die with it. Then you walked away. The night swallowed you, and the silence that followed was no longer violent. It was empty, vast, the sound of something once beautiful ending. And though your soul was shaken, one truth began to rise from the ruins. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's survival.